Good morning, dear people of Trinity. Ever since I uploaded my reflection for this week, I have been trying to practice what I preached, to reflect on the places, on the epiphany moments where, despite evidence to the contrary, I can still recognize the divine made manifest. I've turned to that list I shared with you all, inspired by Becca Stevens, to practice peace in the meantime, to create holy moments by sending a thank you note, taking a bath, one of my personal favorites, playing with my dog. But the truth is, I realize that I am feeling as cynical as Nathaniel in this Sunday's gospel. Nathaniel, forever known as the one who replied to his friend Philip, "Can any good ever come out of Nazareth?" Cynical and stuck, that's the way I feel. Stuck in exhaustion and discouragement. Write a thank you note? Play with my dog? Really? These times are too terrible. Suffering is too great, the problems too systemic, the hatred too pervasive. And what difference will January 2nd really make? I wondered if you might feel the same way. That's why I wanted to tell you what happened next. In the face of my cynicism about my own reflection, I decided to turn to the words of the Holy Prophet Martin Luther King Jr.'s, whose weekend we are celebrating. It was birthday we're celebrating. Those words have always felt like old friends whose familiar presence lifts me up and fills me with hope. I know the quotes by heart. Perhaps you do too. But when I Googled best MLK quotes, what came up was this. Martin Luther, stand up for righteousness, stand up for justice, stand up for truth, and lo, I will be with you, even until the end of the world. I didn't remember that one, so I looked for the speech where those words came from, and they weren't from a speech or a sermon he gave. They came from an experienced king, frightened by violent threats and exhausted by the burdens of leadership, had at his own kitchen table. He wrote about it in his book, Stride Toward Freedom. He writes, I tried to think of a way to move out of the picture without appearing a coward. I was ready to give up. In this state of exhaustion, when my courage had all but gone, I decided to take my problem to God. With my head in my hands, I bowed over the kitchen table and I prayed aloud. I'm at the end of my powers, God. I've nothing left. I've come to the point where I can't face it alone. At that moment, I experienced the presence of the divine as I had never experienced God before. It seemed as though I could hear the quiet assurance of an inner voice. Martin Luther, stand up for righteousness, stand up for justice, stand up for truth, and lo, I will be with you, even until the end of the world. Almost at once, my fears began to go. My uncertainty disappeared. I was ready to face anything. King called that moment in his kitchen his epiphany moment. So, dear people of God, I wanted to share King's epiphany moment, which became my epiphany moment. And now I pray it can be yours. I pray that you and I can hear these words. Stand up for righteousness. Stand up for justice. Stand up for truth. And I will be with you even until the end of the world. Amen.